So my name is Bianchi. I'm from Clean Technology Hub, and I would like to give a brief background to Clean Technology Hub and then e-mobility in Nigeria. So Clean Technology Hub is a pioneering hybrid hub with thematic areas in research, development, and demonstration and incubation of clean and green ideas with technologies in Africa and then commercial development stage. We're basically an energy access organization. We also have an early startup incubator for inventions and innovations in clean energy, also a consultancy for sustainability and energy efficiency solutions. We are also a driver of clean energy and climate smart investments in Africa. Our key focus areas, we have one, resolving energy poverty, advancing clean technologies across Africa, understanding youth unemployment, innovating and adapting for local solutions, promoting gender inclusion in energy sector, and then building skills and capacity in technologies. So our approaches, basically we do research into energy access, around research, and then policy and strategic advisory, design thinking and analytics, trainings and advocacy, and then startup incubation and acceleration. So e-mobility in Nigeria. We cannot talk about e-mobility without speaking about climate change. A major cause of climate change is greenhouse gas emissions, which have surged by 11% between 1990 and 2017 in Nigeria. According to Climate Transparency Reports 2020 for Nigeria, CO2, which is carbon dioxide, is the largest driver of greenhouse gas emissions, and of which transport sector is the largest contributor, that is about 64%, followed by the energy sector. So therefore, e-mobility is a mitigation measure against climate change because of the low emissions from electric vehicles. So e-mobility basically refers to electric cars, as you can see, electric cars, bikes, and bicycles. The National Automotive Design and Development Council recently launched the Hyundai Kona, as seen on the picture that is being charged, which is the first assembled electric vehicle in Nigeria by Stylo Motors. There are also other private institutions that assemble EVs in Nigeria, such as Max NG, Jet Motors, US, Carbon Credits, and the rest. Charging station electricity. About 85 million Nigerians lack access to electricity, and then Nigeria is one of the countries with the largest energy access deficit. EVs are mostly powered by batteries charger, which are being charged by charging stations, and the NADDC, that is National Automotive Design and Development Council, has commissioned 2 charging stations, one at Usman Danfodio University, Sokoto, and another at the University of Lagos, that's Unilag. And they're also collaborating with the University of Nigeria, Nsukka, to build another charging station. Also, logistics and private energy companies, such as God is Good Logistics, First Electric, Rubitech Solar, also have charging stations at their offices. So a common factor is that all the charging stations are 100% solar powered. So according to Power Africa, the percentage of Nigerians' population with access to electricity is 60%, that is 86% in urban areas and 34% in rural areas. That shows that rural areas lack access to electricity. The 2020 World Bank Doing Business reports also ranked Nigeria as 171 out of 190 countries in providing electricity assets. So that is a major issue we have here. So our panelists for the webinar is we have Engineer Jelani Aliyu, who is the Director General of the National Automotive Design and Development Council. They initiate, recommend, and supervise and regulate policies and programs for locally manufactured vehicles and components. We have Mr. Bolade Soremikun, who is the founder and CEO of Rubitech Solar, Gas Consulting, and Bola Pharmaceuticals. Rubitech Solar specializes on renewable energy, specifically solar and inverter, backup systems, small hydropower, biomass energy systems, landfill gas plants, and wind energy. We have Ms. Nina Afani, who is a senior manager customer experience at PowerGen Renewable Energy, that is focused on consultation and development of mini grids, and also installation of commercial and industrial solar. Mr. Chris Nwachukwu, who is the head of field operations at GVE Projects Nigeria. GVE is a leading solar energy provider in Africa through provisions of clean energy mini grids, energy consultancy services, renewable energy engineering, and solar component supplies. And finally, we have Ms. Ifeoma Malo, who is the founder and CEO of Clean Technology Hub, an energy access organization, and she will be moderating the panel. So I hand over the panel to Ms. Ifeoma Malo for the moderation. If you have any questions, you could just put it down on the chat box. It will be asked later on after the panel discussion. Thank you.
Hi, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Ma.
Okay, good morning. Sorry, I'm having a bit of tech challenges, so you must forgive me, and I'm trying to make it work. Welcome, everybody, and thank you, Bianchi, for that great overview and introduction. I want to welcome all our panelists and our participants at this webinar. This is the first in a series of webinars that we're going to be having around e-mobility in Nigeria, and just able to track and see how far we have come and when we're talking about e-mobility, and also benchmark ourselves with what other African countries are doing. So welcome everyone, and especially to our esteemed panelists. So we're going to jump right into it. Please, if you're not speaking, can you just put off your microphone? Just so that we don't have some interference while this is going on. At the end of this recording, the video will be shared on our YouTube pages and disseminated to all of the attendees, or even all of those who registered. So we'll jump right into the panel today. And I just want to join Bianchi and the Clean Tech Hub members to welcome the DG of the Nigerian Automobile Design Agency, Dr. Jalili Aliu. I also want to welcome Nina Itemabo from PowerGen, Bolade Shomiroku, and who's the last person? Let's see, Chris Nwachukwu of GVE. Sorry, Chris, I momentarily lost my train of thoughts. So welcome again, and let's jump right into it. So I don't know, is the DG here? Can you just confirm that you're here? Hello, can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. Is Dr. Jalili around? Is he here? Okay, if he's not here, we'll go on. Maybe he'll join us along the way. Let's go on with the rest of our panelists. So I'm going to start off with you. Please, can we put off our mics if we're not speaking? Can everybody just put off their mic? Hosts, can you help me out here? Mr. Robin Wang, yes, if he could put off his mic, thank you. So we'll start off with you, Bolade. So maybe, Bolade, maybe you can give us an overview of what your company is doing in the e-mobility space. in 5 minutes. Just a brief introduction of your company and maybe your work around the e-mobility space.
Okay, yeah. Can everyone hear me?
We hear you, Bolade.
Okay, yeah. Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to be part of this panel. Rubitech built the first mini grid station 2018, around 2018 September. That was when it was launched. And since then, we have been trying to do so many things to expand the consumption and the expansion of that mini grid. And one of the things that we have done basically is to partner with the Max NG to provide charging for the electric motorcycles in Bamu. We launched this in August 2020, and we had 10 electric motorcycles for a start. And we also created more charging stations within the community of Bamu, so it can be easier for them to move around. I'm not sure if you want me to make my complete presentation now, or is this just an introduction?
This is just a brief introduction, and we'll come back to you for your presentation.
Okay, so let's
Thank
leave
you
it
very
at
much.
that. That's what we're doing right now. And I look forward to making a much more composite presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, we'll go to Chris Nwachukwu of GVE. Chris, welcome. Can you just give us also a brief introduction of GVE and what you guys are doing in the e-mobility space?
All right, thank you very much, Ife. Good morning, everyone. For us at GVE, we are a mini-grid developer. We pioneered the technology sometime in 2012. And since then, we've done a couple of mini-grid projects, mostly in the rural off-grid space. And in terms of e-mobility, we have not really, done any practical applications of e-mobility, but we are in discussions with a couple of downstream petroleum players who are also targeting to be the pioneers for charging stations in Nigeria. So we're already in discussions with them to be able to provide the charging infrastructure for them. And then we are also working with a few startups under the Rural Electrification REF program on e-mobility. We're already in discussions with a few of the startups who want to launch some of their solutions in one of our mini-grid sites in Plateau State. So in terms of e-mobility, that's what we are doing in the space. And for now, that's what we're doing, yeah.
Okay, thank you, Chris. We'll come back to you very soon. And then we now go to Nina Itemwabo. She's with PowerGen. And Nina, can you introduce yourself and your company and what you're doing in the e-mobility space, please?
Thank you, Foma. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nina. With PowerGen Renewable Energy, we are one of the leading solar mini-grid companies, majorly in Africa. And we've done great work in East Africa, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And now we're in West Africa. So in the e-mobility space, we have successfully done pilots in Kenya, Tanzania, currently piloting similar in Sierra Leone. And of course, there are plans to have Nigeria pilot going on, hopefully by next year, which is 2022. We've done quite a lot in that space, and based upon the success that we've had in East Africa and other West African countries, we're looking to having the same outlook in sites that we have operational in Nigeria presently. So that's what we're doing on the e-mobility space.
Okay, thank you, Nina. Okay, so I'll move on to my first question. And Bolade, I'd like you to sort of give us an overview of this agreement. Everybody heard the big announcement between Rubitech Solar and Max NG. So maybe you can give us an overview of, how that is working out in Bamu. And then my second question to you, which all the panelists are going to then answer, is do you think that the enabling environments, we have the right enabling environment for it to really take off and get this time? Bolade, please.
Okay, thanks again for the opportunity. As I said earlier in the introduction, yes, we have a partnership with EV, Max NG, that provide EV vehicles. They call themselves Nigerian Mobility Company, one of the first Nigerian mobility companies. And at the launch of the electric motorcycles, the launch was actually done in Bamo in August 2020. And I think right now they have about 20 vehicles that are operating inside Bamo. And so far, so good. One of the challenges we had earlier was to manage the existing motorbikes that were using petrol. However, they've been able to work side by side, and a lot of people that were using petrol bikes are basically now using the electric vehicles, electric motorcycles. We're looking at expansion, rapid expansion, and we're looking at other communities in Ogun State, and we're also even looking at urban areas also where we could put charging points for them to be able to use. So we are looking at various models and various opportunities that are still available for us to be able to do that. So far so good. We're happy with what we have done so far. We're happy with the experience that we have, and we see that the future is very bright to be able to seize on these opportunities. I'll stop there just for now and let somebody else speak, or maybe you have some questions you want to ask.
Yes, I do have one question to push back on. So a lot of people might not understand how that transition from petrol fueled motorbikes to, battery operated motorbikes are happening. Can you just walk us through how that transition is happening? You mentioned it as you were talking about what's happening in Bamu, and the fact that you now have a lot of people making that transition. Can you just walk us through what that looks like? So somebody has a motorbike, petrol motorbike, and comes to you and says, okay, how does this, how do I get to make it an e-mobility source of transportation? Then what? What do you then do?
Okay, well, what happened was that people were a bit surprised when they saw there were some electric vehicles coming into the community. Initially, it was like competition, and the bikes and the owners of the petrol bikes were not very, very happy. However, we had a discussion with them. We told them, what was going on. This is not going to take business from you, but you need to be part of it. And initially, we had about 10 vehicles from Max NG, and some of them, even though some were reluctant, some were ready to join the bandwagon and begin to use the electric bike. So far, so good. But we also are looking at possibilities of helping some of them, maybe financially, or maybe a payment plan for them to also acquire this electric vehicles. So that's what happens so far. It's been smooth. It's been okay. We're not having any major issues with them and with the community.
Hi, Nate Heller. Can I ask you a question? Or am I...
No, you have to ask. No, you have to wait until the end of the session, then you can ask questions, please.
No problem. Okay, thank you.
So thank you, Bolade. I hear you when you talk about the community engagement that you're involved in, and also trying to help to put in some consumer financing for people who want to make that transition. So thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go to Chris. Chris, now that there's, e-mobility seems to be has become a thing in Nigeria. Do you think we have the enabling environment for it to integrate developer to provide these charging stations pretty much in the way that PowerGen and Rubitech Solar are doing? What are the opportunities for scaling here?
Thank you very much, Ife. I believe as an entrepreneur, the enabling environment is not always 100%, but what we have now on ground in Nigeria and in Africa at large, I believe it's very good. It's a good starting point. One, the awareness is there. People are beginning to talk about e-mobility. And then even with the level of penetration in terms of mini-grid projects scattered all over Nigeria, and the very ambitious target that the federal government and all the players in the sector have towards scaling their operations, especially in rural and peri-urban space. I believe that creates a very enabling environment for e-mobility to thrive, because one of the issues that some East African countries had was that when the e-mobility technology was scaling, there wasn't adequate charging infrastructure to meet up with the scaling process. So I believe what we have achieved in the mini-grid space is going to create the enabling environment for e-mobility to scale fast in Nigeria.
That's an interesting point you make, Chris. So that's an interesting point that you make, Chris. So it seems that the market is leading the enabling environment and not the other way around, not the enabling environment becoming a catalyst for the market.
Exactly.
I'll come back to you because I have a couple of questions for you on that point. We will address your questions as they come. And I'll go over to Nina now. Nina, so PowerGen has been doing a lot in e-mobility in Nigeria, across other sub-Saharan African countries. Now, maybe, I don't know if you can share some of the experiences of how that has been and what the offtake has been in those countries so that we can draw some lessons here in Nigeria. And my second question to you is, there is, low adoption, or let me put it this way. The anchor load for mini grids, there's been very little offtake in it, especially in rural areas for several reasons. How do you think that this idea of now adding, the e-mobility component to mini grid development is going to help drive mini grid in more rural areas, not just from a transportation point of view, but from an anchor load offtake point of view? Nina?
Thank you very much, Ify, for that question. Okay, so to your first question as regards what we've done in other climates like East Africa, some of the learnings that we took from the pilots that we did there was quite good. The feedback and the customer engagement, which is something that is very key. Some of the things that we do, one of the things that we do before we do come up with such programs is to have community engagements. Whereby we educate the customers ahead of time what the project is all about, what the benefits are, what they stand to gain, and how they can, tie into that project. Now, for the e-mobility that was piloted in Kenya and other East African countries like Tanzania, we had quite a good outing. You had, rural dwellers who, this was a first for them, coming out to embrace this new mode of transportation, which obviously is cleaner and safer for them. And you see that, the community obviously would obviously want to tie into that. And we got a good outing in these areas where we actually did the first pilot. So you find that people are embracing the cleaner energy, cleaner, safer way for them to transport themselves and their goods to other urban areas where they actually do live or trade or transact business. So that was a very good key learning for us. And that's why, we are transitioning to doing same in West African countries, Nigeria being one of them. To your second question, just so I'm clear again, could you come with the second question again, Ify?
Sorry, it was on the anchor load and right. How, yeah, go ahead.
All right, so for the anchor loads, yes, there's been, on the developer side, we've seen a bit of challenges. We've experienced or encountered a bit of challenges with, growing anchor loads in the communities. Now, but however, with the e-mobility coming in, like Bolade rightfully said, one of the things we're doing is to ensure that there are charging hubs within these rural communities that we will be delivering the e-mobility bikes to or the vehicles to. And there would be a creation, of course, like he rightfully said, and Chris also mentioned, charging stations or charging hubs. and this will be run on solar. So of course, there will be partnerships whereby, there'll be charging hubs where people who obviously tie into the e-mobility bikes or the mode of transportation would have just to pay a token for them to be able to, swap their batteries or charge their batteries, as it were. And for the anchor loads, this obviously helps in promoting, and growing, the rural areas who are largely farmers or fishermen or women, to increase the yield and be able to expand what they're currently doing. So for the anchor loads, you find that with the expansion and the opening of the rural areas, through easier modes for them to be able to move their items to areas where they can transact business and increase their income, this brings more development to their communities as a result of, the e-mobility projects that we intend to run in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much, Nina. Thank you for that comprehensive answer. I'm going to ask my question and I'll appreciate another question, and I'll appreciate all three of you tackling it, starting with Bolade and then Chris, and then back to you, Nina. And that question has already actually been dropped on the chat. So we have, it's one of my questions, but Chinedu Emembolu is asking that question again on what policies or laws has the Nigerian government implemented to enable e-mobility adoption or e-mobility businesses? Do you know of any legislation, any policy that is currently in progress to enable this environment or this industry? Any of you, please, can start.
Well, as far as we know, there's not been anything that's been done either by the state government or by the federal government. Development of mini grids in general seems to be something that the federal government doesn't really know or care about. We have some state governments that show some interest, but in that particular area, no, nothing has been done yet.
Yeah, what Bolade said is accurate, Ifoma. There hasn't been anything in that space. So what we have is essentially things, speaking to the mini grid, does the mini grids, off-grid mini grid solar areas, but nothing that speaks directly to the e-mobility area.
Okay, Chris, do you know of any, or are you?
No, we don't have any idea of any policies or laws that could accelerate scaling of the e-mobility tech in Nigeria for now. I was hoping to hear from Engineer Ali, assuming he came to.
It's a shame that he's not here. He assured us that he was going to come and he committed to this. So maybe something came up, because we'd love to hear. But we know that the National Automotive Design Agency that he leads is doing a lot. I mean, there was something that was launched recently with the University of Lagos. I think it was I'm not sure if it was a charging station, and that there's some partnership that they have ongoing in Sokoto State as well, with the University of Uthman Danfodio University in Sokoto. So it would have been good for him to tell us a bit about that and whether that's going to lead to some policy outcomes. Now we have other questions. We have some questions beginning to come in on the chat box. We have a question from Ayodeji Adekambi, who's asking, what is the cost of converting a petrol engine to an electric car engine? Does any of you have that data? Maybe you, Bolade? Bolade, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I have to remember to mute and unmute all the time. We don't have any data on that. We have not looked at that seriously. I think for us, the priority really is to build more mini grids and also have more charging points for people, and also partner with other companies to provide charging points both in rural areas and in urban areas also. So the answer to that is no.
Okay. Nina, has your company done any work on this, on the cost of conversion? Any at all?
None for now.
Okay. All right. The other question is to any of you also, maybe Chris, you start this. Do you provide a retrofitting? This is from M.F. Wonu. Do you provide a retrofitting for this fuel bikes? Nina, maybe even the Kenyan or East African countries you guys are operating in. Is there any sort of retrofitting that occurs? Chris, Nina, then Bolade?
Yeah, let me go first. I believe we are currently not doing any physical we're not applying the e-mobility at any of our sites at the moment, but from basic mechanical engineering knowledge, I believe there should be some kind of retrofitting for you to move a vehicle from an ICE engine to an electrical powered engine. So there should be some kind of retrofitting. But the problem is it going to be cost effective? Because I believe building from scratch might be cheaper as opposed to converting to EVs, because the excess load that comes with the engine will also take a toll on the batteries. So I believe that's the reason why even in the other East African countries, they're not doing more of retrofitting. Rather, they're actually manufacturing these EVs from scratch.
Okay. Do you see a secondary market? Any of you, do you see a secondary market for spare parts from the petrol motorbikes that can be used in the e-mobility bikes and keke, or tricycles as we call them, in Nigeria?
Yes, there is some, even though it's not the primary focus of our business. There is some, like providing tires for them, providing location for them within the mini grid for them to bring their bikes for repair and for charging, and so on and so forth. So yes, we do help them and we do support them in those areas. We are looking at more expansive things to do, which we have not done yet. We are also looking at maybe urban areas too, but for now, I want to focus on rural areas.
Okay. Okay. There's a question here from Lawrence Oladeji, who's asking what any of you might be doing regarding battery standardization for e-mobility. Does any of you know if there's some conversation going on with SON, the Standards Organization on Nigeria, or if any of the industry associations might be working on some sort of standardization, battery standardization for the e-mobility sector? Anyone can go first, please.
Well, let me just say something here. What we are focusing on more is the recycling of batteries, because apart from electric vehicles, we have batteries in our mini grids. We have them in containers. So far, we have not needed to change our batteries, because the batteries last 4 or 5 years or more, depending on how you use them. But definitely, we are going to get to a point where we have to do something with the batteries, and we are already looking at plans in terms of recycling and so on and so forth, and disposal too, to be able to conform with the necessary things we need to do about batteries. So that's where we are right now. Yeah.
And let me just add to that, because I know that the Standards Organization of Nigeria, in partnership with GIZ, just launched a battery standardization policy and manual. It's on their website. So I think the e-mobility sector is going to benefit from that. Not saying it's cast in stone, but that was just recently launched, I think about 2 months, and it's on the SON website. So people might want to take a look at that. We have another question from Engineer Damilola Abuola, who's asking if there are any plans to support the e-mobility sector by the federal government. I think the best person to answer that would have been Dr. Jalili. But the other question he asked is for business teams, are there any data, paid or free, that can show the current concentrations of users of electric vehicles in Nigeria, even maybe the routes or operation or areas of operation? Chris and Nina, what's your take? Maybe based on where you guys have mini grids cited, maybe you might have some insight on this question. That's the question from Damilola Abuola on the concentration of users of EVs or e-mobility in Nigeria. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Ify.
Okay.
Okay, so to the second question from Damilola, there isn't any concentrated data that you can place your hands on that has, data as regards EVs in Nigeria, especially in the rural areas. There isn't any concentrated place where you can go to lay your hands on that data. It's not readily available. That's one of the challenges that we currently face in Nigeria. There isn't enough data that backs up what's currently being done in that space.
Chris, can you hear me? Do you want to attempt the question?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you. Thank you very much, Lena. I was like, that's exactly my thoughts. We all know that data, the concentration of data in Nigeria is a very big issue, and I don't think there is anywhere you can go to get this data. I think Bolade is even in a better position to even give us whatever data that, because I think so far his own peculiar case is one of the leading examples in Nigeria. I mean, where you have 10 EV motorcycles being powered by a mini grid. So I think that should be a good place for us to start in terms of concentration of data for this kind of solution. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. A couple of more. Yes, go on, please, Bolade.
Yeah, I think maybe an opportunity that may open up in this meeting is to look at how we can come together to help to develop information, to help to develop enough data concerning batteries and how batteries are being managed, and then try to speak to the e-mobility sector basically, as well as government agencies, to see how we can come up as one body to look at this in all seriousness. It's just a suggestion, which we can talk about later, but it's something that needs to be looked at because it's a very, very important topic.
We're having this series of seminars, so we'll take that on board as one of the outcomes and recommendations, and maybe create a working group that can begin to do some sort of aggregation on data around battery standards, battery lifespan, and also concentration of sites where EVs are more functional. There's a question on sustainability, and this is coming from Lawrence Oladeji. So the question is this e-mobility business sustainable in the long run? And he's asking because he's thinking about the focus on rural and remote communities rather than more urban and peri-urban communities. So for those of you who are looking at this as a business opportunity, Chris, Nina, and Bolade, he's asking, what's the sustainability if you're in rural communities where you have very low income earners? Nina, we'll start with you.
All right, for the rural areas, it's quite sustainable to the question. It's quite sustainable in the fact that when the electric bikes or tricycles are made available for the rural dwellers, right, the consumers or the customers really do not have to worry so much about fuel or having to power their bikes. They run essentially on the solar mini grid for their charging, which obviously, like I mentioned earlier, would just require them to pay a token to either charge their batteries or swap batteries. And they can go for very long distance kilometers with their bikes for their different transactions or trade or whatever it is that they need to move around. And this makes it easier for them. They're able to, when they do the comparative analysis on their own, they can see that they actually do get savings from the cost of having to power their bikes and use them daily, as well as also helping them, in the economics in terms of, the transaction of the trade that they do or the businesses that they do. So it's quite sustainable when you look at it for the rural areas. And, depending on the distance that they would need to travel daily for, whatever they need to transact the business, this is something that we're looking at for sites that are already operational, having charging hubs in this locations that enables them to be able to travel across different communities that are close by, that are also powered by solar mini grids, and they have the ability to power their bikes as well. So they don't have any fear that this would be any challenge for them in being able to move around with ease. And it's, of course, like we said, it's safer, it's cheaper for them in the long run. So yes, it's quite sustainable when you look at it in the long run. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nina. Go ahead, Chris.
Okay. Yeah, this is Chris. Yeah. So just to further buttress what Nina said, I mean, in these rural settings and peri-urban settings, the main mode of transportation is mainly motorcycles and three-wheelers, right? And as long as those business models, I mean, the motorcycles and tricycles are sustainable, being run on ICE, then it's invariably going to be sustainable being run by a cheaper power source. Because in the long run, it's cheaper to run what's it called, the EVs, which means that the payout period for EVs is going to be shorter because you're not going to be spending so much on maintenance, fueling, and all that. It's true that at the moment, the cost of acquiring these EVs is a bit steep, but when you look at the long-term benefit and cost of maintaining the ICEs, it's better. So that answers the question. So as long as the motorcycles and the tricycles are sustainable in this rural setting, then for sure the EVs will be sustainable.
Thank you, Chris. Bola, did you want to say anything in addition to what they said? You're on mute, Bolade.
I think regarding what you just said, I think I agree with that. Yes, it's true. We do not have enough data. We need to see whether we can create working groups for battery standards and so on. And one other thing that we also need to look at is competition, potential competition with other companies who are also worried about converting vehicles from petrol consumption to electric vehicles. So there's still a lot of things out there that impact against themselves and that will cause, we may not see much talk about it now, but eventually as that sector expands and enlarges, we are going to see a lot of things happening there. For example, what are the problems, what are the challenges of these motorcycle riders? Transportation in a lot of cities are basically Okada. What are the potential challenges there? What we have seen in our own experience and research is that EVs are sustainable. They are sustainable. The fact that we don't have electricity in Nigeria in general doesn't mean we cannot run EVs. We can run EVs by providing solar stations with batteries that can charge them. So I think we really need to look far because it can be cheaper in the long run. And one of the things I would love to see is a group of us working together to try and look at how it's going to work, how it's going to be built, and how do we get into regulation to make sure it favors what we're trying to do.
Thank you, Bolade.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bolade. Thank you for that answer. I'm going to go quickly and I'll take two questions next from Nate Heller and then Irene Zobi. Both of them are asking, how does an e-bike compare to a normal bike in terms of upfront costs and long-term costs? I think the latter part of your question has been answered. But then Irene Zobi is asking a similar question with the first part, which talks about, comparatively, how do the two bikes, petrol bikes and e-bikes compare? But Irene is asking, what is the battery storage duration? Does any of you have any insights into this question? And I should say before people answer this question, anybody answers this question, our next session on the e-mobility series will have the people who actually manufacture e-bikes. So the Max NGs and co, they'll be here to answer more technical questions about the bikes. I want to be clear that the people we have on our panel today are mini-grid developers and are not into building bikes or vehicles themselves. They provide the electricity and technology support that powers the bike, but not building the bike itself. So I want to put that disclaimer because of time cost and battery storage. Does anybody want to take a shot at that?
Let me take a jab at the costs. I mean, I stand to be corrected. I know the cost of a bike ranges from maybe about 700 to about 1,200 USD for one bike. I don't know the cost of for a tricycle, and I know the battery ranges from between 2 to 6 kilowatt hour in terms of storage, which could get you to about 4.5 kilometers per day. So that's in terms of the statistics around the bikes and the tricycles. So it has a very sizable storage that should be able to at least take you a good distance and then bring you back for a recharge. So that's where the business opportunity comes in for the mini-grid developers. You understand the need for the bikes to be recharged, and the storage is enough to support the bike at least to get to some significant distance and be able to come back. So that's also another thing to look at. Yeah.
To add to what Chris said, also I think on our end, one of the things that the models we're also looking at is for the bikes, to have spare batteries provided to customers who have the EVs, such that if you get to a location and perhaps you go to a much further distance, you have a spare battery to use, just to ensure that you're able to get back to your final destination in one piece. So that's another business model that we on the developer side are looking at implementing as well. So you don't have that fare to go as far as you want to go because you have a spare battery that can also get you back to your final destination. Just to add to what Chris said.
Okay, thank you, Nina. And thank you, Chris and Bolade. We have an important question here from Oluwatomi Elizabeth, who's asking, with all of these initiatives in the EV sector, do you see any prospects for increasing the participation of women in the transport sector? And also even in the way that we're incorporating gender into the mini-grid sector? And also what roles or opportunities do you think there are for women, especially in Nigeria generally, in this mini-grid and e-mobility sector? So any of you wants to take that up?
Hi, Ify. Yes, there are large opportunities in that area. Say for instance, hello? Can you hear me, Ify? Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay. Yes, there are opportunities for women in that area. Take, for instance, the three-wheelers. These three-wheelers can take, depending on the model of the three-wheelers that are EVs, right? They can range from between 200 kg to 400 kg space that you can actually use to carry goods to transport things to and fro from your community to another community for trade. In the rural communities that we have operational, you'll find that the men do the farming largely. During harvesting, you find the women helping, assisting to harvest, and the transportation and the eventual sale of the produce are done by the women. Now, in this context, if we have women who are able to transport their goods, to the final point where they need to make their transactions and, make their daily sales, this will obviously potentially be a huge one for them. Also down Southwest, women also participate in the trade for their daily incomes. So of course, the three-wheelers will be a very good avenue for them to be able to transport their goods or their wares to and fro from their farms to the final areas where they need to make the sale to, in either urban or peri-urban communities that have large markets. So yes, there are opportunities for women to actually enhance what they're currently doing and of course increase the income or the yield on their end due to the fact that they have the EVs that are available for them to use.
Okay. Chris or Bolade, do you have anything to contribute to that? You're on mute.
Yeah, okay, this is Chris. Comparatively, the EVs are much more maintenance free and they are less noisy. They are built to be friendly to women. So I believe that creates an opportunity for women to, participate in the operations of these EVs. Because I believe one of the reasons why most women don't, dabble into the current transportation system is because of the maintenance requirements, have to deal with mechanics and what have you. But with EVs, which requires little or no maintenance and is less noisy and is more health friendly, I believe it's a very, very ripe opportunity for women to participate in this new technology that will be will be becoming the mainstream soon. So I believe there is a very great opportunity for women to partake in this transition.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Chris. We have quite a number of questions. I'm not sure we can take them all because we have just 5 more minutes to go before we round off. But just to say, Bahijatu Abubakar, who runs RUWES, Renewable Energy Women's it's a Renewable Energy Women Cooperative. She's been able to build electric tricycles, e-mobility electric tricycles, somewhere in Kaduna and I think in Kano. And it's an assembly. They actually assemble the parts, and she works with only women. So that work is going on the gender part, trying to teach women how to assemble e-tricycles and e-bikes. And she's in partnership with some university in California in training those women and actually helping them with capacity building and also helping them with getting some of the resources for the assembly plants. So on the gender question, I got to know that one because when we're doing research around this, we came across some of her work. Now, 2 more questions that we're going to throw out there. Robin Wang talks about his company supplying batteries to e-bikes, and he thinks that Nigeria should develop e-bikes instead of e-vehicles. So there's a lot of robust conversations on the chat. So that's his suggestion. Margaret Onije talks about how if we don't have an idea on how much it costs to do a conversion, it means no market survey has been done and might not be a viable business to venture. I need to say it again, that this panel is made up of mini-grid developers. So the kind of data that people are talking about in terms of conversion are for the people who are going to be on our next panel, who are the people who actually build and do this conversion. The people on the panel provide the charging points. So that's the way the market has been segmented. And it doesn't mean that there isn't any data. It means that the people who have the data have it, and then they approach the people on the panel to then provide the supporting charging equipment to make sure that these e-vehicles or mobility technologies are working. Chifungu Samazaka is asking if we consider regulation to be a major game changer or key driver for rapid adoption. And if so, what kind of legislation do we have in mind? I think some of that question has been answered. We don't have a legislation now, but we also know that the Ministry of Environment, along with several other partners, with funding from, I think, UNDP and some UN bodies, are trying to put together a consultation and stakeholder groups to draft legislation or policy on e-mobility. That, again, we came across when we're doing research around this. So the legislation is coming. It's just not here now. Lawrence Oladeji, okay, he's having a chat. I mean, he's giving his viewpoints. So we'll go on to Nate Heller, who asked, if there is no network of charging stations, do customers even have their own solar charging stations? Nina, do you know if customers have their own charging stations in any of your East African countries, or do they have to use like a charging station from a developer? So I know some in the West, people have their own personal charging stations, but is that even a thing in any of the countries you've seen? Yourself and Bolade might have some insights on this question.
All right, for the East African countries, no, not yet. So they have to use the charging stations already provided. So they don't have their personal charging stations yet.
Okay.
Yes.
Bolade?
Yeah, well, same thing here. In Bamu, which is a rural community, they use our charging station for their bikes, but it's certainly not in urban areas. That's still going to take some time. And it's very clear from our experience that if there's going to be any revolution, it's going to start from the rural communities.
Okay, thank you, Bolade. Then last question, and this is the last question for the panel. Any one of you can take it, and then after that question, please give us your closing remarks. The question is, do you have any plans for quick access to electricity? I don't even know what that means, but maybe someone knows what vehicle to house means. Does anybody want to answer that question before we close? Well, then let's get your closing thoughts. If nobody has any answer to that question, that's fine. Let's get your closing thoughts, starting with you, Neil, on e-mobility. What's the future?
That's a good question. Thanks, Ife, for that question. The future is very bright. And I think as globally, we are transitioning to electric vehicles as EVs, I think it's something that we in Nigeria need to increase the adoption rate and awareness. Awareness is something that is still really lacking. Like you rightfully mentioned in the discourse today, putting the right legislation, government support with the right policies need to happen, and support in terms of course, on the manufacturing side, support for the people who are into manufacturing EVs, such that the components that they use and the batteries that are going to be used for that can be relatively cheaper, such that access to the EVs in the rural communities as well as urban communities will be made, a whole lot more accessible and affordable for people to adopt. So those are my present thoughts on that. Thanks, Ife.
Chris? Chris, you're on mute. Can you go next? Your last closing statements?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Ife. And thanks once again for this very expository section. My closing remark would be, to appreciate the very unique opportunity we have in Africa in regards to these EVs, because during the first 3 IRs, Africa didn't really participate that much. I mean, from the steam engine to the age of science, and then the rise of internet and tech. But with this, what's happening in Africa now, I mean, the level of awareness with sections like this, I believe that puts Africa in a very good vantage point, because we still have a transportation system that is still not very developed. So it's going to be easy for us to transition into a much more cleaner and sustainable transportation system. Because unlike the advanced and developed countries where the transportation system is already at least developed to some extent, it's going to be very cost intensive to transition to this technology. But with Africa, there is this opportunity for us to partake in this new revolution. So I want to thank the Clean Tech Hub for what they're doing, creating awareness. I would have loved if the NADC DG was here. I am happy to see that they are doing a lot in this space, and I pray that we all try to, that all the players and stakeholders come together to provide a homegrown solution to these e-mobility issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. Noted. We'll take that on board. Bolade, your last closing remarks before we close this out. We'll hand it over to Talatu to close out. So you go, Bolade.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much again for this opportunity. This meeting has, exposed and made us to look at various issues concerning this area. And some of the things I'm seeing really is that we are at very, very early stages of creating together a very, very unique market for electric vehicles. There's the future of vehicles is electric, whether it's in developed or developing countries. And there's also this issue of climate change and impact on the environment. So there are many, many things that's going to be helping to push us forward in these areas. And I think we can make a lot of difference in Nigeria. One of the things we think we need to do is more closer cooperation with EV companies, that's solar mini grid developers, or basically just solar developers. I don't have to have a mini grid before I can provide power to an EV company. I can do it within the rural area. I can just take a building or a shed and do it for them from there. So there are things we need to change our thinking and our mindset and work along with the electric vehicle companies to expand their reach. Without charging stations, EV companies are really not going to go far. It's very, very important. And so let's all see that as a huge business opportunity that we're going to be able to do. Maybe with technology, we can have more portable charging stations, or stations that can, I don't know, maybe even petrol stations, partner with them and put charging stations there. I'm sure they'd be very happy to do that. The only problem is that they're going to wipe us away because they have so much money to be able to do that. So Max EV already has vehicles, which I think they also continue to develop. And we want to also look at EV with communities even before the mini grids themselves get there. So those are some possibilities, and I would just like to round up with that. And thank you very much for this webinar or seminar, and it's been great really participating in it, and I hope we can have more of it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. We're definitely going to have more of it. And we promise that the next time the Jalili and you will be on that panel. I will personally panel. Thank you. I'm going to hand it over. A lot of takeaway, a few communiques after this session. The session and give just our vote of thanks so that we can close out in another minute or two. So Talat, if you're there, please take it away. Thank you, panelists, and goodbye from me.
Thank you very much, Ms. Ife. Just to close us out, I'd like to say a big thank you to our panelists, Mr. Bolade, Ms. Nina, and Mr. Chris. Thank you also to our participants for your very interesting questions and participation. We appreciate all the information that has been shared on this platform, and we'll definitely make good use of it going forward. Some of the most interesting takeaways for me were about the fact that we currently have no policies or legislation around e-mobility in Nigeria, but the demand and market opportunities are pretty overwhelming, and this can, scale this sector quite significantly. So thank you for that as well. So like my colleague has said, Bianchit, this is the first in a series of e-mobility webinars. We'll be looking at other areas, including market opportunities in this space, and also manufacturers, batteries, and other technical information regarding e-mobility. And also we'll be looking at skill development for this sector. What are the required skills for this particular sector in order for it to develop rapidly? So we'll be sharing this information with you as time goes on. Please ensure that you continue these conversations. And thank you once again from the Clean Technology Hub team. Have a good day and hope to see you soon. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.